Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Dr. Tariq RYK. Today our topic is about the osmosis. So be connected and be concentrated. Let's start our today topic, osmosis. Osmosis basically is a term that describes the movement of the water molecules. Osmosis is the function of the cell membrane, so it relates to the cell membrane physiology. In osmosis, there always be two solutions. One solution with little amount of the solute particles, and the other solution with have high solute particles than the solvent. Always solvent is water. You can see the image on the left side solution, and other one is the right side solution, separated by the semi permeable membrane. The left one has little amount of solute particles and high amount of the solvent, mean water. On the right side solution has little amount of water molecules and the high amount of the solute particles. In this case, the water molecules will move from the left side to the right side solution through a semi-permeable membrane, and this is known as the osmosis. What is osmotic pressure? Osmotic pressure is basically pressure that triggered or created by the solute particles to attract more water for its saturation. Solute in the high concentration produces pressure known as the osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure has many functions. It make the cell stable and make the cell at its position. And other is the osmolarity. What is osmolarity? Osmolarity basically is the amount or concentration of osmotically active particles, solute particles in a solution. Equation for osmolarity is equal to G multiplied by C. In this equation, G stands for the number of solute particles in a solution, mean osmole per mole, and the concentration is C as concentration, mole per liter. What are the ice solutions on the osmotic pressure or osmosis or osmolarity? There are three categories of solution depends on the concentration or osmolarity of a solute particle in a solution. There are two solutions. If they have same osmolarity, they have the same number of solute particles, they are known as the isosmotic solution. Other are hyperosmotic solution. If there are two solutions, one have the high concentration of the solute and other has the low concentration solute. The solute with the higher concentration solute known as the hyperosmotic solutions, and third one is the hypoosmotic solution. If there are two solutions, one has the low concentration of the solute particles and other has the high concentration, the solution with the low solute concentration known as the hypoosmotic. All these depends on the concentration of the solute particles in a solution. So let's see an example for the osmolarity. Osmolarity for 1 molarity of NaCl. Concentration is 1 mole per molarity and the number of the particles are 2 because one particle is sodium and one is chloride to make sodium chloride. So osmolarity equal to G multiplied C. 2 multiplied 1 is equal to the 2 osmole per liter osmolarity. How can we calculate the osmotic pressure of solution? We use Hoff law for the measurement or calculation of the osmotic pressure. According to Hoff rule, it states that osmotic pressure depends on the concentration of the osmotically active particles. This is the statement for the Hoff law. Equation is osmotic pressure equal to G multiply C and multiply RT. In this equation, osmotic pressure measured in the mmHg or atmospheric pressure. G stands for the number of the particles in solution, C concentration of the solute particles, and R is the universal gas constant, which is equal to 0.082 atm liter per kilo mole, and T is the absolute temperature of the gas. We have to know that the osmotic pressure increases as the solute concentration of solute particles increases, because they are created by the solute particles. If there are more solute particles, then osmotic pressure will be increased. If there are low solute particles, then osmotic pressure will be the decrease. Let's see osmotic pressure. This is solution on the right and the other is the left. In the osmotic pressure created by the water moving across the membrane due to osmosis. If there is higher osmotic pressure, then greater flow of the water from solution will be occur. What are the solutions depend on the tonicity. Isotonic solution may be hypertonic solution and may be the hypotonic solution. They depends on the concentration of the or osmotic pressure and concentration of the solute particles. If two solutions have same effective osmotic pressure, known as the isotonic solution. There are, if two solutions, one has the higher effective osmotic pressure and other has a lower effective osmotic pressure, the higher osmotic pressure known as the hypertonic solution. If there are two solutions, one has the low effective osmotic pressure and other has a higher, then the lower known as the hypotonic solution. What is the coloidal osmotic pressure or the oncotic pressure? This term related with the plasma proteins. The osmotic pressure created by the plasma protein known as the oncotic pressure or coloidal osmotic pressure. It is very helpful during the renal filtration of the blood. You can see the image of the three types of solutions: isotonic solution, hypertonic solution, and the hypertonic solution. What is reflection coefficient? Reflection coefficient basically is a number between 0 and 1 that describes a method or way or is in which a solute may be permeable or impermeable through a semi-permeable membrane. If there is a reflection coefficient 1 for a solute particles, it describes that the solute is impermeable and it will remain in the original solution, and it creates osmotic pressure in its original place and causes water flow. For example, albumin, which is large solute particles, and it has a reflection coefficient of 1. It causes the oncotic pressure. If reflection coefficient is 0, then what will happen? If the reflection coefficient is 0, the solute will be completely permeable. Solute will flow from original place to another, and it will not cause the osmotic pressure through the semi-permeable membrane, and there will be no water flow from solute to one another. For example, urea is a very small solute and it has a reflection coefficient of 0. So urea is an ineffective osmole. Effective osmotic pressure. What is effective osmotic pressure? Osmotic pressure that cause the effect on the semi-permeable membrane and cause the water movement. Its definition: osmotic pressure calculated by the Hoff laws and multiplied by the reflection coefficient known as the effective osmotic pressure. You can see the image. Formula for the effective osmotic pressure equal to G multiply C and multiply RT and multiply by the osmotic pressure and multiply by the reflection coefficient. Effective osmotic pressure equal to the osmotic pressure measured by the Hoff law and multiply reflection coefficient. If reflection coefficient is 1, the solute will exert maximal effective osmotic pressure. If there is the reflection coefficient 0, then the solute will exert no effective osmotic pressure. So today our topic is finished. If you have any question, you can make comment. See you for next. Allah Hafiz.